The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney Pollock, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, How Self-Service Business Intelligence Can Shorten Time to Decision, presented by Olivia and Jasdeep of Tangerine Software. A little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise to a minimum. However, throughout the webinar, you can submit any questions you have. If you'd like to submit a question, look for the questions section in your GoToWebinar, and we will answer all your questions at the end of the presentation. We're also recording this presentation, and it will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees, as well as those who registered but were not able to attend. And finally, please take a moment towards the end of our presentation to answer our survey question. With that said, we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to attend this webinar. We're here to help you get the most out of your software solutions and help you find an easier way to run your business by providing you tools, support, software, and industry knowledge whenever you need it. We've invited Tangerine Software here today because they are the industry experts in business intelligence. So whether you're here researching a new solution or you're just here to learn, we'd like to encourage you to ask any questions you have. And lastly, as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important tips and tricks on social media channels. We encourage you to follow us on our Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Olivia and Jasdeep.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Courtney, and thanks everyone for joining us today. We're really looking forward to getting into the Nectari solution and hopefully showing you some ways that BI can really make things easier when it comes to data analysis and reporting. Just so you can get a look at who we are. I know Courtney mentioned our names earlier, but my name is Olivia and I'm the Director of Business Development in North America. So I work with business partners like SWK on Nectari enablement. And Jasdeep is with us as well. He's our pre-sales engineer and we'll be doing a demonstration of Nectari a little later on today. So something we've been doing recently, and I know there are not a lot of people on the call at the moment, but I'd love for you all to participate in some polling questions so we can get a better idea of some of the challenges you're all having today when it comes to data analysis and reporting. So we're going to do polls. If you could all participate, that would be amazing. I think Courtney is going to launch the first polling question. What percentage of your time is spent gathering and preparing data compared to analyzing data? So I think we'll give it a good 30 seconds for everybody to respond.
We've got some responses coming in.
Perfect.
Okay, so I think we're going to close that poll out in 5, 4, 3, 2, and there are the results.
Awesome. I don't think I can see them, so if you want to just, yeah.
I'll share with you, definitely. Okay, so Olivia, it looks like we have about 43% of people are spending 15 to 30% of their time analyzing data, and another 57% are spending 30 to 50% of their time is
awesome.
Gathering and preparing their data.
Perfect. Thank you everyone for participating. Poll number 2 coming at you right now. Do your employees have access to the insights they need to make decisions in a timely manner?
Ooh, we've got some interesting results coming in on this one too.
I love the participation. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we're going to close this one out in a few seconds. Let's get your last answers in. And so, Olivia, it looks like there are about 14% who said often they have the insights they need. There's 43% who say sometimes they do. 29% say not often, and 14% aren't sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Across the board.
Yeah, exactly. And the last one coming up, how many data sources do you access today for your reporting?
It's interesting. It looks like once again we might be across the board. I'm going to go ahead and close out that poll and let everyone see the results. So it looks like we have 38% said they only access one source for the reporting. 25% are accessing 2 different sources. 13% are using 3, and we have 25% of our attendees are using 4 or more.
Wow. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for participating. And based on the responses, at least the majority of them, it looks like you've definitely come to the right webinar in terms of, some of the challenges that you might all be experiencing today when it comes to being able to easily access, analyze, and report on information. It's obvious that in today's day and age, there's kind of data coming from us at us from so many different places, more so than ever before. For the people who answered that they have more than one system that they're working with today, that definitely poses, different challenges when it comes to being able to pull all of your data together to really be able to get that enterprise-wide view of what's going on. There's a lot of complexity as well associated with, your inherent ERP tools when it comes to pulling reports from your ERP systems. Often it takes more technical skills to get at the data you really need. And again, it's just a matter of that data is growing, and so are your requirements for being able to pull that data to really be able to make better decisions. And that's kind of where Nectari comes into play in business intelligence in general. So Nectari is really a fully integrated BI solution that helps organizations like yourselves access information in a really easy way. It's easy to analyze the information based on different view types that you might, have preferences for. It's really empowering all users, not just the technical people in the organization, to get their hands on the data they need, again, to make decisions and better do their jobs. In addition to the analysis and reporting features of Nectari, we also deliver some tools when it comes to data management. So if you are one of those organizations who are working with multiple sources of data, you might be experiencing some challenges pulling all of that information together. That's something Nectari can definitely help facilitate in your organization. So when it comes to really the main key benefits of Nectari, it's about user enablement and putting the data in the hands of the people who really need it. So empowering you and your users to be able to access the information, when they actually need it, and accurate information as well. So you can make decisions faster, and of course, give others in your organization the power to make their own decisions based on their own analysis. It'll also enable you to cut through the noise, again, pulling up all the data together. We even have tools for data cleansing, so you can actually make more sense of the information that you're using. And last but not least, it'll enable you to share and collaborate with others. So even though you might not be users of the ERP system, you may not even be users of Nectari, there are ways to be able to share information very easily in an automated way as well. Last but not least, I do want to talk about the ROI and the quick return on investment that you can achieve by using Nectari. And the reason we talk about quick ROI is firstly because we're very seamlessly integrated with the different ERP solutions. So whether you're a Sage user today or an Acumatica user, we deliver an integration that includes data models and reports that are already pre-built, ready to use upon deployment. So for the different areas of your ERP, sales, finance, project jobs, so on and so forth, you actually have reports that are being delivered to you from day one, and no need to go behind the scenes, technically speaking, and make those data connections on your own. Everything is already there for you. Of course, it's all customizable, but at least you have a really good starting point. In terms of the deployment, it's very quick to install. There's minimal training involved when it comes to the end user training, so you can really get up and running fast. We have a cloud option as well, which makes the implementation even quicker and more seamless. And last but not least, I do want to mention, our universal data models that we deliver with Nectari out of the box. So not only do we have specific reports for the various ERPs, we also have what's called our universal data models, and you have an example of them on this page. So our universal data models provide pre-built KPIs, dashboards, and reports on various areas of the business. So you can see we have for finance, CRM, and sales. We'll also be delivering one for inventory in the near future. It's all your industry standard reports and KPIs. So balance sheets, income statement on the financial side, as well as various dashboards, for the CFO, so on and so forth. Very useful stuff that you can actually use to connect to multiple different data sources. So if you are using a user of Acumatica, for example, and you're using Salesforce from the cloud for your CRM, you can actually plug the universal data models into those two sources and have the output of the UDMs working, obviously, with the consolidated data. So apologies for so many clicks on the slides. My dog really likes to bother me while I'm presenting webinars, so I'm multitasking here, trying to give her some attention as well. But on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Jasdeep. He'll get into the product demonstration. And again, like Courtney said, we'll be taking questions at the end. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Olivia. If you could make me the presenter. Perfect. Can you see my screen? Just to confirm.
Yep, I can see it, Jazz.
All right, amazing. Well, thank you, Olivia, for your presentation, and thanks everyone for coming together on this webinar. My name is Jasdeep, and I'm pre-sales engineer for Nectari, and I will walk you through the product demonstration today. And during the course of your presentation, you might have a lot of questions. Please feel free to type them in, and we will address them towards the end of the presentation. So we will begin by looking at the first platform, which is going to be the web application. I'm using it on a browser of my choice. You could, which is Google Chrome. You could also use other browsers, of course, and it's also available in multiple languages. I will log in as admin. And while I'm doing so, I must mention that each Nectari user gets a unique username and password, and there are different security settings that can be tied to each login, making sure you log in and you have access to the information that you want to see and which should be limited for the other users, for example. So as we log in, I will take a quick moment to explain the layout of the solution here. On the left-hand side, we have the command center, which comes with the various tabs here on the top. The first one being the data models and views, which is the repository for all out-of-the-box reports, graphs, charts, worksheets, which are coming with two different sets of templates. I will come back to this, but just wanted to walk you through all the different tabs here. Then we have the dashboards as well. Just like the various worksheets and visualizations, we have also the out-of-the-box dashboards tailored to the ERP systems, and also which come with another set of template, UDM, Universal Data Model, which Olivia mentioned in her presentation. So we will have a closer look at that for sure. There's a report designer and also a section called favorites where we can save the reports that we will be using most often. Coming back to the first one, the data models and views. This, like I mentioned, is a repository for various out-of-the-box reports. Now, Nectari provides two different sets of templates to all the users. One is the ERP-specific template, and another one is the Universal Data Model. The difference between these two is that the ERP-specific template provides you the ready access to the real-time data. So all the postings that are, all the transactions which are being posted in your ERP system, they will be reflected into these reports right away. And the various modules in Sage 300 that we have covered here are accounts payable, accounts receivable, finance, sales analysis, PJC, purchasing. And if I expand these folders here, we will see the various data models which come along with these different reports here. I'm sorry about this. I closed the notifications. Not sure why it's showing up again. So what I was mentioning here is the different data models that we get out of the box with these modules here. And also, each one of these data models further consists of the different reports, worksheets, graphs, and charts. And these are all pulling the data in the real time. On top of that, we have the Universal Data Model, which is based on the OLAP Cube technology. And it offers a lot of different modules on finance, sales, CRM, and inventory. And the major advantage of Universal Data Model is that since it is based on the Cube technology, it allows us to analyze the data in a more efficient way. So if we have millions and millions of rows of data, we can easily access and analyze the data. And on top of that, we can also connect to other data sources. Of course, our ERP system can be brought into the universal data model, but if we have other systems in the cloud, for example, a Salesforce CRM or any other third-party legacy systems, we can bring in the data from them and report that within Nectari solution. The universal data model, like I mentioned, offers various modules, and these consist of the various industry standard reports and hundreds of different KPIs. So we will have a closer look at them. But first of all, let's begin by looking at some of the out-of-the-box real-time reports. I will open a financial report, detailed transactions, and I will also take a moment to explain you the functioning and the basic principle of these reports. So this report here is combining the data from the different entities set up in the ERP system, which is SAM Inc. and SAM Ltd. So we can see both the companies put together in this worksheet, and the information that we will see in this report will depend on what we have entered in the shelves here on the top, like groups, pivots, and columns, which can contain various fields. For example, groups here has 4 fields: company code, fiscal year, fiscal period, followed by the GL account numbers. So if we drill down on one of these companies, let's say SAM Ltd, we can see the fiscal year. Drilling down on the fiscal year, we can see the fiscal periods in there. And then further drilling down on that, we will see the different GL account numbers. And we can also go down to the to see the raw level details like the journal primary reference, the entry numbers, the transaction dates, so on and so forth. On the other side of the report, we see the various metrics like currency amount, the journal transaction amount, the quantity. So this is what we have as a generic template provided out of the box. But if you would like to come in and slice and dice the data, move things around, bring in the new dimensions or measures, it's all doable. So let's say if we would like to see our GL account numbers as the first field instead of the company codes, we can simply grab the field and drag and drop that and place that in the first place. So we now have all the GL account numbers listed here. And then if you would like to get rid of some of the columns which we don't want to see anymore, we can simply hover onto them and reduce the number of columns on our report. And if you would further like to add a few more columns or different dimensions into this report, then we have a toolbar here on the right-hand side, and we can use the tool called Dimensions and Measures, which houses the various dimensions and measures which are specific to the different data models. So since we have opened a financial report, we will see the metrics such as the currency, source, transactions, the dates, and so on and so forth. And on the dimension side, we can bring in the information on GL account numbers, the fiscal years, fiscal period adjusted, and even the segment codes, for example, as we would have defined them in our ERP. So let's bring one of these dimensions, let's say segment 4 code. I'll grab that and I'll place that in our pivots. Doing so, now it's going to show us, oops, sorry about that. Looks like the dimension here is not having any data, so I will try another one. All right, so this one, for example, segment 2 code is showing us the different departments, commercial and retail. And if we want to see this report with all the different transactions per department, we can filter, first of all, these 2 departments to clean up the report a little bit. And then I can bring in the segment 2 code into the pivots. And then we will see these transactions for each separate department here. So that's where we can use the pivots to see and to keep the different columns side by side to make the comparisons, and which can help us do a better analysis of our data. So that's an example of a real-time report here. Of course, there are a lot more reports which are offered with the universal data model. Let's open a financial example here. Industry standard report like balance sheet. And another feature that I must mention here is that there is a selection page which can be set up as we try to open the reports or these worksheets here. Selection page is basically a set of different filters where we can clearly define what information we want to see as the report loads. So here I have defined that the fiscal year 2020, my chart of account is named as this, and I would like to open the report with the USD currency as my global currency. So I'll confirm those selections, and the report will load by keeping all those filters in place. So here is a standard structure of the balance sheet where we have assets, liabilities, stockholders' equity, and then we can drill that down to see the sub-levels under each one of them. Further drilling down on the sub-levels, we can go and see the different account codes, and even further drill down to see the document numbers. So now you might ask yourself, to what level of detail can we drill down on these reports? It would really depend on how many fields you place in here. If I would have kept another dimension here by bringing it from our tools, a dimension and measures, I would see the next dimension right after the document number. So let's say if I bring in the ledger as my other dimension and keep it under after document number, we can drill down on the sub-level, the account code, and then document number, and then further drill down to see the ledger as it would have been defined in our ERP system. So it really depends how many fields we enter here. That's the level of detail that we can go on to in these reports. On the other side, talking about the various measures, the other advantage of using universal data model is that it offers hundreds of different KPIs which are pre-built and pre-calculated measures which we can easily drag and drop into these reports without having to calculate everything from the scratch. For example, here, actual posting, we have all these pre-built measures such as variance percentage. Then there are measures based on the year to date, rolling 12, budget and actual mix, inventory, sales, COGS, AP, AR, so on and so forth. And the principle remains very much the same. We can grab the fields that we would like to keep in the report, drag and drop them in. And the next thing we see is that they are calculated on the fly as we reload the report here. On the Sage 100 side, we have all these different out-of-the-box data models again for AP, AR, general ledger, item history, price and cost, inventory management, MRP, purchase order. So plenty of different reports are offered for Sage 100 out of the box, and the universal data model, which remains the standard across all the different ERPs. Let's go ahead and open some of the advanced reports which are also offered with the UDM, such as AP and AR. So these both reports are based on the same principle where they give us the access to see the historical information of our transactions. So in this report, the AR, I would like to bring in the customer ID as my second field right after the date chosen. So we can see with the help of these time intervals, which of the customers have to owe us the payment and how long it has been that we haven't received any payments from them. So there are intervals such as 1 to 30 days, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, so on and so forth. So we can easily track down who owes the payment and since how long it has been pending. Same principle goes for the AP reports as well, when we owe the money to the vendors. And these aging brackets can also be customized according to the net payments terms that you might have in place for your own businesses. So if you're using net 15 days or net 45 days, net 90 days, these intervals can be customized as per your needs. Some of the other advanced functionalities which come with the universal data model is the ability to create budgets, maintain them, and also create the sales forecasts and maintain them within the Nectari solution. So here we have an example on the sales forecasting, where users have the option to create their forecast by quarter, by month, or by week. I have an example set up here on the month. And just to explain you very quickly, what is the workflow here is that the user could come in and create their forecast, give it a name. Let's say we are creating a forecast for 2021, giving it a revision number 1. And then we can choose what fiscal year, what kind of year that we would like to create the forecast for, whether it's the fiscal year or the calendar year. Is the forecast based on the amount or the quantity? We have that option. And then what would be the reference year from where we are taking the original data and applying an increase on that. So if you're expecting a great year ahead, we could we could input 15% as our increase, and then this 15% will be applied to the data coming from 2020 to give us the forecast for 2021. So that's the main principle. Easy, where we simply enter the information that we expect to see, and in the upcoming version, which has also already been released, in fact, here is a more advanced side to this functionality, where we have now the ability to add even more features to this forecast creation. So there are different forecast methods that we can now create, such as the last year percentage increase, or we could also create a forecast worksheet with 0 forecast in there. So we can manually go into the reports and tweak in the numbers all by ourselves. There's also a linear regression algorithm in the place now where we can use that to project the forecast in the future. And there are other options such as the average of the last year and forecast of the end months. So plenty of different options for us to create the forecasts and budgets within the solution. And as the forecast is created, here is an example of what a worksheet would look like after creating the forecast. So just quickly open that. So in this worksheet here, we have all these columns starting from period N through period N plus 11. So these columns are slightly different from the other worksheets as they are activated with the data entry feature, which means after creating the forecast, if we still would like to come into these reports and make any manual tweaks or any exceptions in our forecast, we can come in here and make those changes. For example, if I would like to change this amount, 78,000, to a higher amount, let's say 120,000, I will enter that amount, and it will, as soon as I click somewhere else or hit enter, it will of course change the top calculation here at the addition of this column as well. So doing so, we have changed the entire sum, and this way we can modify as many cells as we need. So once the forecast is created, it can then be further pushed and in fact forwarded to the managers, for example, or the approving authorities who could accept or reject these forecasts. And then once the forecasts are accepted, they can then be pushed further into the dashboards where we can do our analysis to compare the actuals versus forecast. So talking about the dashboards, and since the forecast is the most recent topic we just covered, I will like to open a dashboard which shows the comparison and the variation of the actuals versus the forecast as created within Nectari. So here in this dashboard, we have combined various visualizations put together, and there are different filters here on the top with the help of which we can easily set the cutoff period or apply other filters as needed. So let's say if I apply my cutoff period as 4, we will see in all these visualizations, the data will change. And for example, here in this visualization, we can see now the first 4 periods are showing us the actuals versus the falling bars, which are showing us the amount based on the forecast that we create within Nectari. Similarly, there are also the visualizations on the top 10 customers and products, where the blue bars will show us the actuals versus the red slots, which show us the forecast amounts. So we can clearly see where do we stand in terms of our sales as compared to the different forecasts that we create. There are many other dashboards which come out of the box. Let's go ahead and open one of the financial examples, a financial performance dashboard. So these dashboards are really powerful in a way that they combine data coming from various data models. So even if it is a financial dashboard, we can still bring in the visualizations and the reports from other data models such as sales or inventory to do a full analysis of the different reports and different data coming together to build a full story of the business. So here, for example, we have many KPIs such as return on asset, the debt to equity ratio, the working capital ratio, along with the balance sheet report, which is embedded here. And we can further drill down on this worksheet if needed to see more details about our postings. These dashboards further are also fully customizable. That means if we go into the Added Dashboard option, we can resize these views, delete them, and like I said, we can go into any other data model of our choice and bring in a visualization or a worksheet that we would like to see in this dashboard here. So let me go ahead and bring in one of the reports here. Let's say a stats by month as a chart. I'll simply grab that and drag and drop that into the dashboard here. And as a result, we now see this chart being a part of this dashboard. So that's how easy it is to customize these and bring in your own views of choice into these dashboards. We will also explore one more example on the dashboards. And here we will open the sales performance. So in this dashboard, again, we are looking at a lot of different KPIs again, comparing the invoice quantity, the cost, the margin of this year, and comparing them against the last year's numbers. Then we have a states map here, where we can hover onto the different states which are colored in different shades of blue, and the shade of the blue, whether it's darker or lighter, will tell us how big or small the sale or the deal has been in that region or in that state. And we can also make these views talk to each other with the help of these dashboards. So if I would like to filter on the state of Washington, we will see that everything else on this dashboard will now change, and it will show us the numbers specific to the state of Washington. So we can zoom in into the data to clearly see and gain insights for a particular region with the help of by simply filtering on the different states here, or any other visualization for that matter. And we can always come back by removing those filters to the original form of this dashboard. We can, of course, change the filters here to set the calendar year or the calendar period like we saw earlier, and also spot the trends or any anomalies or any exceptions in the data as we see them in the visualizations, and connect the information seen in these dashboards back into the worksheets which hold the underlying data. In this visualization, for example, we are comparing the top 10 product performances this year versus last year, where the blue bars are showing us the actuals of this year versus the red slots showing us the data from the last year. So just by the look of this graph here, we can tell that aspirin has not done as well as a sale from the last year. So if we would like to have further details about what's going on with the sales of this product, we can click on the bar representing aspirin product and then use the link to option to connect to the data from the worksheets, which are containing all the basic data out of which these visualizations were created. So we are connecting now to the sales summarized the worksheet, which filters right away on the same product aspirin as we were looking at in the dashboard. And then we can drill down to see the next level of detail, which is the bill to city. So here we can see there are different cities and the quantities which are sold in these different cities. Now, looking at the data here, we can see that Hamburg is the city where we had the lowest number of sales of aspirin. We can further take it a step further by bringing in a new dimension of our choice to see who is probably, let's say, a sales rep in the city of Hamburg. So I can go back into the toolbar, dimensions and measures, the tool, and this time bring in the sales rep ID. I'll simply grab that and place that right after the bill to city. So next time when I try to drill down on the city of Hamburg, like here, I will be able to see the name of the person, the sales rep, who is responsible for the city. Now I can find out that Hans Groth is the person who is the sales rep. And now as a next step, I might want to get in touch with Hans to understand if he needs any help with the sales of the product in this region. And that's where I can use the sharing and distribution side of it, Nectari. So there's a tool in the toolbar which is called sharing, and it comes with various options for us to collaborate easily and in a safe and secure manner with our teams. We can export this report, for example, in a format of our choice: PDF, Excel, CSV, HTML. We can pick any of these formats, and it will provide us a download link. Let's say we just do that, and then it will provide us a download link, and we can download the file, which will keep exactly the same layout as this report as we see here. And it will also give us the ability to drill up and drill down on the data as we open the report in Excel. So just giving it a, there we go, and enable the editing. And there we can see we have this data in the same format, and we can drill up and drill down as we would like to see the information as exactly as we see that in the web application. So this is one way of exporting the data and seeing that in Excel. And then the other options which exist are like sending the comment on this report, where we can take a screenshot of this report and then annotate, make any remarks, and then send this to our colleagues. And all the annotations or comments that we create, which will also be sent out as an attachment with the email. We can do a print of this report directly from Nectari solution, and there are all kinds of settings to do the page setup, such as setting the margins, the headers and the footers, setting the grid. And then most importantly, we can also subscribe to these reports by setting our own schedules. Here's a more advanced side to that, where it covers all the basic tools as well when it comes to distributing these reports. So we can decide while distributing the reports that how we would like to receive these reports when these are sent out, whether by email or simply saving that on the network drive. If that's the case, we will provide the network path here, and whoever will have access to the shared network path here, we will be able to go and grab the reports from there. Then we have the web views as the next section, where we can create the reporting packs. Now, reporting pack is a bundle of different reports put together. It could be all financial reports, it could all be sales reports, or it could be a mix and match of different reports and visualizations and dashboards put together. So we can create these packs and share them across the teams, present that in the board meetings, for example, and we can choose as many reports that we would like to keep in these reporting packs. If there are any reports sitting in Excel, we can also bring them in and include them in, and then give it a quick name. This page is more for setting the aesthetic touches to these reporting pack. That, for example, we can add a company logo with the image section here, and then the text field here allows us to give a formal description to the report, and we can also add the different dynamic variables like the year, the month, the date, user, so on and so forth. Add the table of contents, which will list all these different reports together, and finally send them to the different users as we have them set up in Nectari. Talking about the users, all these users are maintained within Nectari, and there are different roles and restrictions that can be applied to each user or a user group. So if you would like to hide a certain column or information from different users, we can set that all up within Nectari and make sure that we are sending the information to the right recipients. Finally, set the schedule. So let's say if you would like to receive this report at 9 a.m. every Monday and every Wednesday of the week, this is where we set the schedule, hit save, and then Nectari does the job of automatically taking the fresh data of these reports, depending on how often it is refreshed, of course, and then sending out these reports in a timely manner based on the schedule that we set here. Another tab that we should definitely cover here also is the conditions tab, where users can come in and create their own business rules or the conditions to set up the notifications and the reports which will be sent out to them in case those conditions are not met. For example, warehouse manager who wants to keep a very close eye on the stock levels in the warehouse. So he could set up a condition that if the stock levels fall below 100, then he wants to receive a notification on that. And if that condition arises, then Nectari will send out a report along with the notifications, so the warehouse manager can be more proactive about the situation and reorder the stock levels. And here's the final result of what a reporting pack will look like as it is sent out to the different recipients. There could be a logo on the top like this, which is totally customizable, of course. And then there's a table of contents showing which report is on what page, and then different reports with the different KPIs here, like APAR. Then we can include the different visualizations, such as a chart like this one, and various reports as well, like a balance sheet, cash flow, so on and so forth. The last thing that I would like to cover in the web application is very, very important to show, which is the reporting tree, which comes as a part of the report designer section. So report designer section is slightly different from the reports and the worksheets that we have seen earlier, since there is no groups, pivots, and columns here on the top, as this would be the final result of the report as it is to be shared with the users. So here we have a title of the report on the top with the different dynamic variables, and then we can further break down the report into subsections. For example, sales has its own totals row, then COGS, expenses, and what I wanted to highlight here in this section is the reporting tree. Now, a reporting tree is a set of different filters which facilitates the filtering on these reports. We are talking about the ERP systems, which are multi-entity, multi-company databases, such as Sage 300, Sage 100, of course, Acumatica as well. So we can set up a consolidated parent filter here, which will cover all the postings of the company at large. And then we can then have the child filters for different regions. Let's say in North America, we click on North America and we can see all the postings within this region. And then North America could have different company codes set up. So NA10, NA20, clicking on the company code, we will see all the transactions for that company. And to go and make it even more complex as a structure, these companies could even have further sites. So we can click on that site code also and see the postings for that particular site. So that's how filtering becomes much easier by simply clicking on that button and seeing the postings of exactly what we need to see with the help of the reporting tree here. The advantage of reporting tree is that it offers us to set up the filters up to 10 different dimensions, and we can add not only the company codes or site codes as we see here in this example, but we could use any other dimension. We could set these reporting trees for warehouses, we could set them up for the manufacturing operations, or even for financials. So there is no limit when it comes to using this tool here, and it's provided as a clean slate to you so that you can make the best use out of it based on your company's hierarchy. Last but not the least, I would like to show some of the sample reports on the Excel platform here, which is the second platform of Nectari, called Excel Addin. And here are some of the reports which we have created using this platform, mostly financials, but definitely not limited to financials. And the tool here, Addins, provides us access to over 25 different options that we can use to create these reports. We can use the data extraction, for example, to bring out the different dimensions that we would like to include in our reports, and then further do the calculations on these reports with the help of a tool called Formula Wizard. Now, if you open Formula Wizard, we will see this is a simple tool to use with the pick and choose functionality where we do not have to type in any formulas on our own. We can go and choose the data model that we would like to work on, the field that we would like to choose, as the field will be loaded as soon as we select the data model. And on top of that, then we have the different operations that we can choose to perform on these fields. Right here, this is the filtering panel where we can select and in fact specify where is the field coming from. The fiscal year, if you want to apply a filter on that, we can specify fiscal year and it shows it's coming from the cell number D7. Fiscal period also is coming from cell D8. So that's how easy it is to map the different filters and then leave the whole hard work of calculating without even typing any formulas here to the Formula Wizard. We can also use more advanced tools to do a formula drill down on these reports to see what all postings add up to then make this number right here. So we can go and use the formula drill down. And this tool allows us to choose all the options or some very specific ones. So we can add them. As a result of that, we will see a new spreadsheet. In a moment, it will load for us. Okay. All right, something might have just gone wrong in this this file here, but what it would actually do is to give us a full breakdown of all the different accounts which add up to make the sum here, which is 1,903,000. Another way of how we can make the best use of this tool here is that if we would like to create multiple copies of these reports, like say financial performance here, and then spread them across different dimensions. So which could be company codes or different cost centers, department IDs, then we can use the duplicator tool to keep exactly the same layout of the resulting reports, which would be actually spread across the different dimensions of our choice. We can create static copies of these reports and send them and share them across the teams. And like we also already saw in the web application, we can also schedule their distribution by bringing them into the reporting pack option. Similarly, we can also use the reporting tree option to filter on the data based on the company's hierarchy. And these all different tools add up together to make it a great and more comfortable for the users who like to work on the Excel add-in, of course. A platform for them is also available here, along with what we have seen here on the web application today. So with that, I will like to conclude the presentation and hand over back to Olivia.
Perfect. Thanks, Jazz. I think you just have to make me back the presenter.
Yes.
Okay. Can you see my screen? Yes, you can, because I have this sidebar. It's showing me. Perfect. Thanks so much, Jazz. So I just want to conclude with some final slides and just talk about kind of what sets Nectari apart and why you would choose to proceed with a business intelligence solution like Nectari. So starting with the integration to Sage ERPs and Acumatica, of course, we talked about this and Jazz showcased this throughout the demos, the reports that come and the data models that come pre-built out of the box, ready to use with the solution is a very big advantage. It's a comprehensive BI that eliminates legacy systems and manual work. So if you are one of those who are manually entering data into Excel for reporting purposes, you're not alone. There are many, many others out there, but we can definitely save you some time through the use of Nectari when it comes to eliminating that manual type data entry work. It's very easy to use, as you could probably see, with the demo, a lot of dragging and dropping, very intuitive for any kind of user to be able to use. Even from a technical perspective, making changes on the back end requires minimal training, and then it's pretty much all kind of in your hands. The multi-source data access is a big one. We know that solutions like ERPs like Acumatica do have some reporting that comes standard with the solution, but when you're talking about multiple data sources, I mentioned the example earlier, if you have Acumatica and a Salesforce potentially for your CRM and you want to pull all that information together, have the reports running, giving you that enterprise-wide view, that's something that Nectari is, of course, equipped to very easily accomplish. It's scalable for all companies. So whether you're very, very small, you might have somebody or just one person who wants to be able to access this type of information, or you might have hundreds of people you want to provide this information to. Nectari's technology makes the solution a very scalable option for companies of any size. Of course, Nectari, through its data analysis and reporting features, will increase company-wide productivity and decision-making, also through the sharing option. So being able to put the data and the power really into the hands of people who need it to do their jobs. It's a low total cost of ownership. And of course, it's fully cloud enabled. We did talk a little bit about that earlier. Overall, just to conclude, Nectari is really all about helping organizations save time when it comes to pulling information from any data source, not just your ERP. for data analysis and reporting to help you get the insight that you need to support better decision making amongst your whole organization. Just included a little testimonial here from one of our clients, Hammond Manufacturing here in Canada, who talk about how the use of Nectari has really streamlined their financial and sales reporting, and that they've shed hours off of these processes by implementing Nectari. And they've been a Nectari user for many, many years. So the technology was not where it is today. Of course, they're benefiting from a lot of the new features and new interface, and they're still heavily using Nectari for data analysis and reporting in their organization. Just a final note, in terms of, it's almost the end of the year, we are providing some incentives on the Nectari solution for subscriptions, 15% discount off of the first year subscription, as well as 3 months membership to our e-learning, which contains online self-paced learning exercises, a lot of good material to help you get going with the Nectari solution to enable you to be able to really use it on your own, which is what it's all about. So that's what we have going on here until the end of the year. And I think on that note, we have some resources here, and we'll jump to the questions. And thank you again, of course, everybody for joining, and thank you to Courtney for organizing this with us. We'll get to the Q&A.
Thank you, Olivia and Jasdeep, for the great presentation. And we have had a couple questions come throughout. So the first question I'm going to ask you all is about the demo, actually. So we had an audience member that would like to know if you have fixed assets available in the universal data model.
We don't currently have it available. However, we can connect to it and pull in the data model, into the data model for inventory. So because Nectari is so flexible with its ability to connect to multiple different data sources, just because we don't necessarily have reports that are specific for fixed assets doesn't mean that we can't connect using the universal data model, pull in the data from fixed assets, and you would still have the same output as the inventory data model.
Great.
Good question.
And also, in the demo, we'd like to know, can I create reports to separate general funds from grant funds for revenue and expenses?
Yep, absolutely. Again, we're pulling information from your ERP system. So whatever setup is there, we're obviously taking the information from your ERP. That being said, though, Nectari also provides you the ability to create groups within Nectari. So you can kind of have both options to report in that way.
Great. And our next question is, how long does it take to get up and running with Nectari?
Nectari is pretty quick to implement, especially if you're going to go the cloud route. It's a matter of a few hours, just some configuration of the universal data models in terms of mapping some of those GL accounts for financials. When we talk about an on-prem installation, it's about a day to install on-prem. Then it's a matter of how self-sufficient do you want to be with the solution. So do you want to go all the way in terms of being able to build new data models on your own, or are you really more somebody who just wants to be on the end user side, doing some of the things that Jasdeep did today in the demo? So training can really go anywhere from 1 day of end user, which covers the web and the Excel add-in, to 5 days, which goes beyond the end user functionality into the more technical side and admin side.
Okay, and our next question is, what is the difference between SI and SEI?
Good question. So this is one we get asked a lot, especially for of course, the Sage customers. When we talk about SI, we're really looking, or Sage Intelligence, I should say, we're really looking at an Excel-based financial reporting tool. We know that it can access other data as well, but it is only Excel-based. Moving on to Nectari or Sage Enterprise Intelligence, and I should have mentioned this in the beginning, we are also known as Sage Enterprise Intelligence. That's our Sage branded name. We're known as Nectari for everybody else, but SEI is our other kind of brand name with Sage. we have the web, of course, platform, the flexibility to be able to report off the web, have access from your mobile device, connect to multiple data sources very easily as well. There are a lot of different tools in the web that you can benefit from that, of course, Excel may not have. So when you're talking about taking things to the next level for your data analysis and reporting, especially talking about managing the data on the back end as well, SEI would kind of be that next step from Sage Intelligence.
Okay, and I think that brings us to our last question, unless we have some last minute submissions from the audience. And we'd like to know, how is the product licensed? Are licenses names or concurrent?
Yes, so good question. The price basically works by two different license types. So you have a full user license, which can access either interface, the web or the Excel, and have pretty much all the access to all the features and functionality of Nectari, whether it's from an end user perspective, power user, or an admin user. So really everything, people who are going in, creating reports, maybe creating new data models, making changes, so on and so forth. We also have what's called a viewer license. Pretty self-explanatory. Anything that's been created in Nectari can be accessed by a viewer. They'll still have the ability to, drill down, move things around, but they won't have the ability to save any changes or create anything new. And that also applies to both interfaces, and both user types are concurrent, not named licenses.
Great. Well, I would like to thank everyone for all of your questions that you submitted throughout the presentation. And again, thank you so much, Olivia and Jasdeep, for such a great presentation and taking the time to be here today. I'd like to thank everyone for attending the webinar, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Courtney.
Thanks, Courtney. Thank you, everyone.